Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. India is in news and it has often been in news. The reasons may be different, but most of the news, if you would see, are about its fights, conflicts, and wars. 4 wars with Pakistan and dozens of undeclared incursions firing across a line of control, and so on. Wars with China, ongoing standoffs. But then these are not the only wars. There are wars which are not declared, which are inside the country. So that's why I say India has been facing never ending covert and overt wars. And not, no, it's not a recent phenomenon. India has been facing these conflicts since times immemorial. As a matter of fact, since the beginning of the civilization, if you go by the mythology, the wars between the devils, the demons, and the angels, the wars seen in Ramayana and Mahabharata, the war of Kalinga that made Ashoka embrace Buddhism, and so on. And the colonial invaders and enemies within are the first to burn the libraries and erase memories of their enslaved people that were in fact at one time the most independent people. The Indians are a living example of people with erased memories. Their memories are very, very selective, and that's the tragedy of this country. The Indians today have forgotten that Hindu Shahi kings ruled Afghanistan, and that rule continued for centuries. People talk of Afghan people, Nader Shah, Ahmad Shah Abdali, coming and looting India. But they forget that the same Afghanistan was ruled by the Hindu Shahi king for centuries. They talk of the Qutbuddin Aibak coming to India, but they have forgotten that Indians had defeated Arabs and extracted huge punitive amounts from them. At one time, Indian influence was not only in Asia, especially East Asia, Thailand, Bangkok, Vietnam, even Russia, Uzbekistan, and not only that, even Latin America. There are symbols in Peru, in Argentina, of the Hindu culture. So much so that even the largest Muslim population country, Indonesia today, even has Garud as its airline's name. And they have not forgotten that culture. But the Indians have themselves forgotten that for the last 1,000 years, they have been constantly at war with foreign invaders, and they're the only people on this earth who defeated the Islamic mission to convert Hindustan into a Muslim country, as they did in West Asia and in parts of Middle East, completely eliminating non-Muslims, their culture, their songs, their civilization icons, and boxed their existence in dead music. India still shines with thousands of years of old tradition, wisdoms, rituals, language, and has been a challenge to ideologies of the foreign marauders. But then the second war that India is fighting, and India wasn't said because of the second war, are the enemies within. Meet Jaffars and meet Qasims, Jaichans, Dhyan Singh Dogra, Gulab Singh, Pahada Singh. Pick up any history and the names of the traitors to the country, the betrayers of the country would stand up in big relief. Indians have forgotten that Mahmud Ghaznavi looted India 17 times, occupied Punjab, Thanesar, Hansi, burnt Mathura, destroyed Somnath, taking with him thousands of Hindu men, women, and children as slaves. And who helped them get a passage from Prabhas Patan, Somnath to Ghazni? These were the Indian traders. They by themselves could not have been successful if they had not been supported by India. The Khalsa Raj, the Sikh empire of Ranjit Singh, was betrayed. Betrayed by who? By the ministers like Dogra, Dhyan Singh Dogra, his brother Gulab Singh, even Maharani Jinda, whom everybody reveres today, in fact invited the Britishers to come and invade Punjab. And then, was the Punjab was the next, their national spirit was dead till 90s. In 1857, they refused to revolt and join the National War of Independence. And because the leaders had been purchased. So we in India have forgotten the 6 centuries of Islamic invasion and the continuous resistance that gave birth to a section among Hindus who became grateful to their tormentors and wrote songs in praise of them. Maybe they are forgetful. What I was going to say was that maybe they are forgiven by nature. They believe in the policy of forgive and forget. And that's why the infamous Melukot massacre by Tipu Sultan was forgotten by them. And then they crowned Tipu as the most nationalist king of India. One of the kings, of course. But they forgot that he had killed more than 5,000 people in one night in Melukote. When the Portuguese and the Britishers came, they were more loyal to the Christian and the Portuguese. The British did give us praise, but they gave us English language and United Nations. The Portuguese injected a Roman culture in the veins of a Hindu god, in the line taken by the Slavic colonized people amongst us. The culture started changing, and normally power follows the trade. Here they came hand in hand. How the Britishers treated Indians is history, barbaric, eliminating the schools and the colleges, killing 3 million Indians in a man made famine in Bengal. 3 million at that time. Portuguese converted Hindus using the weapons of Inquisition. They stopped Hindu festivals, turned temples into churches, and simply deleted them from the memory slates of Indians. but they did not do it themselves. As I said, that was an overt war, but the covert war was also there. They were aided, abetted, and assisted by the Indians who helped invaders to subjugate Indians, loot them, become their colonies in return for some contracts, titles like Raj Bahadur, Rai Sahab, and the hopes of a good life, a better life. Go to the National Archives in India. I don't have to say anything. Go to the archives and you would find dozens, nay, scores, sorry, hundreds of such people who sold their country for the sake of a title and a handful of silver. And now let's come to that what still sustained India. No society, leave aside a nation, can live without its critical voice. In a large nation like India, it's quite natural to find voices opposing the government, and each party having a different point of view. That's the base of dialogue. Diametrically opposed views can be there. You can always disagree, but when disagreement degenerates into treachery, that's a tragedy. When the prime minister of a country betrays a secret to get the highest civilian award from a foreign country, an enemy country, that is something which should make people think. And the people don't think that. I do not deny that the people have a right to fight as fiercely as possible. And fight whom? Fight the government. And they can create an atmosphere of the sport. But there the thing should stop. By inviting foreign sport and interference in settling domestic affairs is a different matter. It should not be tolerated either by the people or by the government. And we are seeing that happen today. Making statements for the political purposes is one thing, but sending funds, as a number of organizations in USA, Canada, Norway, and England are doing, by sending arms through drones, as Pakistan is doing, and that is all being done in conjunction with the local people, the citizens of India. And that is something heinous, criminal, detestable, deplorable. And that's happening. Let's not forget to invite foreign sports and interference is an act of treachery and betrayal. India has survived foreign brutalities, gained freedom, and it was on the strength of collectivity. Despite all the treacheries, despite all the betrayal, the people, by and large, were honest. But if you lose the vital element of having faith in yourself and your country, then you lose a country. Today, those who are celebrating the editorials of New York Times or the Washington Post, or the comments on the BBC or on CNN. And I have written extensively how BBC and CNN. BBC at one time was very impartial, very objective. Today is absolutely rabidly, lunatically anti-Indian. So are all the leftist newspapers. So their articles and the tweets of the people who have nothing to do with the nation's well-being is like those Indians who had Ghaznavis and Goris, or those Indians who went to the court and gave evidence against Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev, just to be in the good books of the Britishers, or those kings of Patiala and Nava who provided cannons to the Britishers so that the Nirankaris could be killed. The people in India had forgotten how they fought the foreign invaders, sacrificed their lives. Some religious gurus, like Guru Gobind Singh, sacrificed their sons, saw the children being buried alive, but they refused to succumb. They have forgotten how the Britishers betrayed even the betrayers. That's a tragedy. The betrayers ultimately never gain. And when you invite a foreigner to help you fight your government, that foreigner is going to exploit you. Temporarily, you might feel that you are gaining materially. But no, what happened to Maharani Jinnah and Ranjit Singh? They blindly rejoiced at Firangi's help. But it was then Jinnah was, along with Dilip Singh, taken to England, converted into Christianity, all the traditions forgotten, and they were subjected to the humiliation of untold order. Her jewelry was taken away, Jinda's. She was forbidden to leave the place. She became half blind and wanted to meet her son, which she could never do. So the same thing is happening. In 1947, imagine the truncated independence that you got. And then not a single decade has passed since then, since 47, when you haven't fought a war against Pakistan. China, 62 war. Pakistan, 60, 48, 65, 71. Kargil is continuing. And then internally, Naxalites, Moils, Nagas, NCLCN, PLA Manipur, Ulfa, Khalistani, jihadi terror attacks from Coimbatore to Gujarat to Varanasi to Delhi to parliament attack. Can anything be more? Can you see the history of any other country facing so many foreign attacks and so many internal attacks bordering on insurrection? And yet the Indians have been by and large forgiving. And now we see several forces using the facade of the farmers' protest to create chaos when India should be standing firm and united. It's not. And I find that the Indian protesters are not only using foreign PR agencies to fund celebrities, tweets, but also trying to sow seeds of discontent in the armed forces. They are threatening that India will be disintegrated. No government can and should tolerate such wars, whether by the foreigners directly or by the foreigners indirectly by promoting insurrection, revolt, treachery. This requires stern action. This requires an iron will. Do the governments have that? I don't know. But looking at the things, it appears that harsh diseases do need drastic remedies. And the sooner those remedies are administered, the better it would be because treachery, betrayal Covert war is also a sort of an epidemic. If you don't control it, it spreads. And that epidemic has been afflicting India since the times immemorial. But shall it continue to do so? Think about it. Thank you.